Yes, yes.
Great. All right. So C13. So we are past 13 sessions. So establishes and maintains agreement. So what I'll do, as I said, so agreement, we have already done this. I'll just run past so that it just tickles your memory, and then we will focus on practice. Yeah. Okay. So what is co-creating the relationship, right? Partners with client and relevant stakeholders. So what is important here is it is just not the client. So the client and also client's relevant stakeholders. Say, for example, your client is reaching out to you one to one, yeah, private, right? So person doesn't get tied up in any organization with his or her own money and investment and time. So the person is reaching out to you. So then it is going to be between the coach and the coachee, yeah. So which is the client. So say if it is an organizational context and if somebody is engaging you through organization, then it is always three party, right? So usually it is three parties. So there will be coach, there'll be a client, and there will be a stakeholder or a sponsor. Okay, we have discussed this as well. So partners with the client and relevant stakeholders to create clear agreements about the coaching relationship, process, plans, and goals, right? So everything which entails in this coaching session, which is the entire coaching engagement, is what gets discussed, agreed, and established, and establishes agreement for the overall coaching engagement as well as those for each coaching session. So you have already seen when we are engaging with the client after the chemistry or discovery session. So you have a conversation to understand what is their overall objective, right? What are they looking for in this coaching engagement, and then you focus on what needs to be discussed, established in each of the session, right? We spoke about this. There is a whole coaching engagement session, and then there are each individual session which talks about specific topic, which is moving towards the overall coaching engagement agreement. So establishes and maintains agreements. So we have discussed this as well. So explains what coaching is, what coaching is not, and what does the process look like. What do they expect from this engagement? So reaches agreement about what is and what is not appropriate in this relationship, right? So it's very important to establish that, and that gets usually established in your discovery session and also in your first session where you agree on what is the coaching engagement. So, and also it's important when these agreements are done to say what are the responsibility of your client and the sponsors, right? So that also needs to be clearly established, saying what is client responsible for, what coach is responsible for, and what sponsor is responsible for, right? So usually sponsor is responsible for the reviews and also setting expectations of as a sponsor what they would look for in a client, right? In the client. So they will also set those expectations. So and hence these are the elements where you will actively involve the stakeholder or the sponsor. So reaches agreement about the guidelines and specific parameters of the coaching relationship, such as logistic fees, scheduling, duration, termination, confidentiality, inclusion of others. Right? And these are the elements, which makes up the entire coaching agreement. Why these are the things, which we repeatedly talk about, and also we, do it in detail, is because in the engagement, you really don't want any kind of disruption or misunderstanding, right? So, and hence it is very important when you enter into an agreement that you are very clear. So what are those expectations? And you're clear about either time, logistics, what is the duration, and what is the frequency of the review, and what is it you can expect from each other. All that needs to get established. Partners with the client to determine client coach compatibility. We have seen an extensive session on this as well, to say, how do you gauge the compatibility? And then this usually happens in the discovery session. And then, it continues in session after session as well. So partners with client and relevant stakeholders to establish an overall coaching plan and goals. So you can stop me if you have any questions anywhere. So I'm just rushing this through because we have spent lot of time in all these parameters. Okay. So do stop me if you feel that there are questions. So partners with the client to identify, reconfirm what they want to accomplish in the session, right? So that is your goal setting. So whether it is, the entire session or during the session, each session. Partners with client to define what the client believes they need to address or resolve to achieve what they want to accomplish in the session. So this, we'll talk in detail in the next slide. So these are the PCC markers. Okay. So we will talk about specifically about each of these points. Okay. So that is CC3 in PCC marker. Partners with the client to define or reconfirm measures of success for the client who wants to accomplish in the coaching engagement or individual session. Partners with client to manage the time and focus of the session. As we said, we spoke about presence, we spoke about, what are some of those expectations during the session, right? We spoke about that wheel where, what coach prepares, how coach enables client to be present, yeah, and how do you go about in the entire session. Continuous coaching in the direction of the client's desired outcome unless the client indicates otherwise. Partners with the client to end the coaching relationship in a way that honors the experience. We have spoken about this as well, where we are saying, so any coaching engagement, right, it has a closure, it has an end. So that does not mean that, the learning, the growth process of the client stops there, right? And hence it is very important during the closure of the session to see that whether the client is in a good place to take their journey forward, right, independently. Or there can also be discussion about saying, do they need more investment in coaching? Okay. Okay. So before I get on to this, any questions so far? Any questions, clarification? Mine is on the presentation mode. I'm not able to see any of you. So please do speak up if there are any questions. Okay, so looks like there are none. So here, this is competency 3. So, which talks about how do you establish an agreement. And this agreement could be, your overall coaching engagement or during the session. So in every session, so say, you have signed up for say 10 sessions, right? And these 10 sessions is movement towards what has been established as the overall goal. And mind you, so when you do these sessions, the overall goals sometimes might differ because, there's a lot of discovery, self-awareness, which is happening in these sessions. And then, if it means that I need to reconfirm the objective, I need to reconfirm, what the client is looking for, it's important that, both of you, the client and the coach, discusses that and then recalibrates the goal of the engagement or even the session. Okay, so again, there are, I'm sure you are all aware of PCC markers, right? So ICF has PCC markers, and PCC markers clearly defines in each of the competencies what are the markers you would look for. Say, for example, now we are talking about establishing and maintaining agreement. So in this, there are 4 PCC markers, okay? So there are 4 sub-markers, So there is a competency, this is called as competency 3, and that is why you see that mark, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. So there are 4 markers in this competency, okay? So what usually happens when, just to give you a heads up, what usually happens is when you're submitting your recording for the assessment, right? So you're applying for say ACC or a PCC. So when the evaluation happens, the evaluation is going to happen basis these markers, okay? So in your conversation, whatever recording you submit, so the evaluator is going to look at whether you have met all these markers, right? And usually, so there is a threshold of markers for ACC. I think it is around 50% of 5 points, and then PCC is between 5 and 7, and beyond 7 or 8 it is MCC. Okay, so that is how you look at in the conversation whether the coach was able to demonstrate all these PCC markers in the conversation, right? So what is PCC markers will help you is to give some shape, structure, direction to the conversation. So, and hence, in your coaching conversation, in your practice sessions, make sure that during the conversation, you use these markers. It's very important for you to use these markers, okay? And that is part of the process. So when, during your initial 1 to 2 months, just focus on the process. Right? So don't worry about how deep the conversation is. If you're able to do deep conversations, go ahead, do it. No problem at all. It's always good.
Yeah, Ashwini, just I want to share one information with them.
Sure.
That is, when we submitted our students a recording of 30 minutes each. So we submitted 2 recordings to ICF during this approval of the program. Both the recordings were of the students of Master in Emotional Intelligence and Life Coaching students. And one benchmark recording is already there on the G drive. So if you open the buddy coaching guide, right, a PDF what I have sent you a few days back, uh, in the end, there is a coaching log and also there is this particular recording. So means I'm happy to share this that ICF gave 8+ rating to both the recordings. So which is a MCC level rating. So this is what I told you in the last interaction. That is, we are not developing only PCC level coaches. Our program, right, is at a MCC level training program. But of course, you can become MCC only after you become PCC and then you completing the coaching practice hours. But yes, so this is the level our students get after completion of the program.
Okay, thank you, Hemant.
So, Ashwini, I'm sorry, yeah. Sir anyways asked you a question, right? So I'll follow up with that. I have a follow-up question. It is now, if you see, there are 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4. These are the 4 markers. Now, when we coach, is it okay to, sometimes it might be out of context just to ask them for the sake of asking questions. Like, if you see, okay, I'm there, okay, this is what you want to do by the session and what does it mean to you? So that will cover the first 2. But for the next 2 also, are we supposed to ask all of them, or is it okay to
so when you look at it,
skip some of them?
Yeah. So Vijay, when you are, this is when you look at a quality of a conversation, right? So there is a lot of science behind this. There is a lot of research behind this. So why these markers are there is to give you structure and take the conversation forward, so that you are eliciting some of those thoughts in the client. So and hence, when you're looking at the markers, try and see how many markers you're going to mark, right? So it's very important for you to do that. And that's the reason I'm saying right now, you might feel that, you know what, I can skip the important question, yeah? Or I can skip, how they need to address to achieve this. So my advice is going to be, stick to, especially, when you are establishing the goal, right? So stick to these 4. It's very important. The earlier version had 5 markers. So they have removed 1 marker now. So now it is only 4 markers in CC3. So my suggestion is, please stick to this, right? So, and okay. And for rest of the competencies, again, it is very in the conversation, right? You will not be able to see markers and then keep asking questions. That becomes very unreal. So and that is the reason what I'm saying is, make this practice, especially establishing the goal, right? These 4 markers. Make it a
Okay.
practice, even in your buddy coaching session. So try and see that you ask all of these, right? So the more and more you practice this, then it becomes unconscious competence, right?
Yeah.
The moment
And
it becomes unconscious competence, you're not trying hard.
yeah. And just think from the side of the assessor who is going to check your recording, he doesn't know the background, what happened in the last session, and means what is your relationship. Assessor is going to assess based on the call recording submitted, and if in that call recording he will not get evidence of that particular point, then he is going to say there is no evidence, and
Exactly.
you cannot fail in more than 50% of the pointers. Means, for example, there are 4 pointers, right? And
Okay.
if you fail inside 3 pointers, then you are fail in that particular competency. So as Ashwini has rightly said, these particular PCC markers give you a very good background to practice with the right questions and inculcate habit in you to ask these kind of questions starting from your buddy coaching process. So finally, you will evolve into a coach who follows all the key PCC markers in the coaching process.
Okay. So Hemant sir, what we will do is we will try to stack all the 4 questions into one thing, and whenever we ask one question, all the set of 4 questions we'll ask them in that way. So we will practice in that way. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so and again, when you're practicing, so as I said, right now you might be thinking that my conversation needs to be very impactful conversation, right? And I want the client to go away with lots of learning and action points and awareness and all of that. So it is good to have that thought. But when you're practicing, when you're in this nascent stage of understanding the process and giving the structure to your conversation, just focus on the markers, right? So the more and more you practice these markers, as I said, it needs to be your unconscious competence, right? So you really need not then give signals to your brain to say that hey, you need to ask this now. It just comes automatically. So the more and more you are akin with the process, so then as you practice, so it comes naturally to you. When it comes naturally to you, then you will get into deeper conversations, right? So then you will know for sure that you are steering this conversation in the direction which is required for the client, and at the same time you will be invoking all what is needed for the client to move forward. Okay, so so we will do that practice session. We will have 2 volunteers coming in, and then we will just do this for today. For today, we will just establish a goal. So here, when we are saying establishing and maintains agreement, so this is the marker which tells you whether the goal for the session has been established or not. Okay, so these are the 4 key important markers which will tell you whether the session goal has been arrived at or established. Okay, so these are the 4 markers which will decide that. So let me go through each of the markers. So coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish in the session. So whenever there is a session, so say, this is my second session with the client. And in that second session, I will ask the client to say, what is that you would like to achieve in this session today? So once that happens, then then the conversation goes. So the client will come up with something, and then you will you'll explore as to what that is, what that client want to achieve about it. So once you start having conversation, so then you will establish what is the goal for the session. So the moment you say that this is what I want to achieve in the session, the client would come back and say, the client would say, I would like to aim at being in the senior leadership team in next 2 years. Okay, so that is the session. That is the goal of the session. And then once that is established, saying, what makes, what about the timeline? You will inquire into all those aspects of that goal, and then you will establish the goal. So once the goal is established, So then the coach partners with the client to define or reconfirm measure of success for the client or what the client wants to accomplish in the session. So now, so when I say that, I would like to achieve or I would like to say, the larger goal was that in 2 years, I want to get into a senior leadership team. So which is a very big goal, right? So then as you start having conversation, so then you would say that I'm not great at delegating, yeah? So as the conversation goes, the client might come up with, I'm not great at delegating, right? So once you establish that, for this session, session 2, so delegation is something which we need to discuss. So for that, when I say that, I want to be better at delegation, so then the next question comes to say, coach partners with the client to define or reconfirm measure of success. So what is the measure of success? How do you know that you have achieved this goal by end of the session? That is nothing but the measure of success. Then the client would come back and say that, either these are some of the actions which I'm anticipating, or, why I hesitate to delegate, whatever is the reason for the client. So they will state saying, these are the measure of success. By end of the session, I should be able to measure it. Okay. So then coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in the session. And again, these two, 3.2 and 3.3, it can be interchangeable as well. Not necessarily it has to be, one after the other. So coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client. So now the client has said that, I want to get better at my, are you able to hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
All right. So, okay. So coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in the session. So it is just not about, the importance question of, what's in life. It is about in the session, about that goal, what is important for the client, what makes this goal important for the client. The moment you ask that question, so then they might go back and relate to their purpose. They might go back and, reflect and say, what makes it important for them to discuss this in the session, right? So the moment you talk about the importance, then it becomes real, because I can't come with any random goal, right? Any random goal for me to spend this time and, have that entire process of, coaching conversation. The moment you ask this question, it helps the client to reflect and say what makes it so important for the client to talk about this now. Yeah. So then 3.4. So 3.4 is coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address to achieve what they want to accomplish in this session. So what does this mean? So this means that, coach partners has now established, what the goal is. Coach has established what measure of success is. Coach has established what makes it important for, your client to bring this goal into this session. And then the coach partners with the client to say, what is coming in your way to achieve this goal? This is nothing but 3.4 is nothing but what the client believes they need to address to achieve what they want to accomplish in the session. Right? So if somebody is saying that, I want to be better at delegation, what is coming in your way to be better at delegation? So the client might come back and say that I really don't trust my team, or I micromanage, or, there are a lot of deadlines, and hence, I really can't leave that to my team, and hence, it's very difficult. I better do it myself because I feel it is faster. Whatever is the reasons, so usually it is reasons. It is just not one. Usually it is reasons. So what is coming in their way to achieve what they want to, accomplish in the session about the goal. Okay. So these are the 4 markers in the goal setting. So
Ashwini,
now,
Gayatri here. Can you please explain point number 3 again? Not very clear. It's a bit.
Sure.
I think all of them are a bit overlapping, so I need more
Yeah, so
clarity.
it seems like that, right? When the more and
Yes.
more you practice, the more and more you hear what the client is going to respond. Then you'll be able to clearly establish the difference between all the four, right? And again, don't get overwhelmed because the language is also kind of, you feel, it looks simple, but possibly I really don't know how to implement it, right? Sometimes it happens as well. So 3.3 is coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in the session. So what it means is I've established a goal. Yeah, I know what goal is that I'm going to talk about in today's session. Once I establish that goal, I need to understand the importance of that goal in my life. Right? What makes it important for me to pursue this goal? The moment you ask that question, then the client will go back, reflect, and say, what makes this goal important for them? It could be, say, if I take that delegation example itself, so they would say that it is important because I want to grow in my career and it looks like this is actually getting in my way. Right? And that is the reason it is important for me. Or sometimes, it also happens that when you are talking about the goal, the moment you ask this importance question, so sometimes the client reflects and says that actually it is not so important. This aspect of it is what is important, right? The moment you ask the importance question, the goal clarity becomes refined, right? So then they would say that, this is the place when you're exploring, this is the place where, the client will go back, reflect, and then say that actually, you know what? It's not this, it's actually this. So the moment you ask the importance question, they will then reflect and realize that, what is important about this goal for me today in this session, right? So the moment they reflect on that, so then it becomes very clear for the client to say that why it is important for me. The moment I establish the importance, I have the commitment to overcome that, commitment to achieve that, right? So because it is important is when I'm going to invest in it, is when I'm going to act on it, is when I'm going to make better of it for me to move forward. Does that help, Gayatri?
Yes, thank you.
So any other?
Yan and Balraj have your queries. I think. Yeah, Yan.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, my question was like, when we do multiple sessions, we don't define goal in every session. So, we define a common goal. Like if I have a client, coachee, and I have to, he has certain issue and I have to sort it out through him only. So in first session, we will define goal and then we will move towards more exploration and then towards action plan. So this points what we are discussing today, this will be applicable not for every session, right?
Okay, Balraj. So let me again, repeat this and be very clear. This goal setting will happen in every session. In every session, you will establish goal. It's very, very important. In every session, you need to establish the goal for that particular session.
But if we, so that what will be the time for that every session then?
What is it?
What will be the tenure for one session? Like you said, you have to define goal in every session.
Yeah.
So if someone came with a issue, okay, he's having. So in one session, we will define goal and then we will work towards that goal. So we are not going to define goal in each session. Because if we have to define goal, then what will be the tenure of that session?
Ashwini, can I add to this, please?
Okay, go on, Vasudha.
Yeah. So, so my point is, it is something like, we in schools, we do a annual planning kind of a thing, a long-term plan. So maybe there will be in the first session when we are meeting the client, it would be a long-term goal towards that. And then we break that goal into easy steps like task analysis. And then every session we are taking one point by one point and covering that goal. Am I right in understanding this?
Absolutely, Vasudha. Yeah, so thanks for making it easier. So Balraj, so when we, and again, please tell me if there are few others who has this question, because it is very, very important for you to understand. So we have had these conversations earlier as well. It's very important for you to understand. So there is that engagement goal. Engagement goal is, it could be, duration of 6 months, it could be duration of 1 year, it could be over 10 sessions. There is engagement goal, overall goal. And there are sub goals. It is like milestones. So milestones for you to achieve that overall bigger, larger goal. So these milestones will happen in every session you're going to have with the client. And when you're doing that in the every session you need to establish the goal. You have to. Only when the goal is established, you will move towards that goal. Yeah, the entire process is, first you establish goal for the session. These are the 4 markers for that. So you establish the goal for the session, and then you dig deep into the goal. You will then understand, what's coming in their way, what are their beliefs and values. You evoke awareness. You then, come up with the actions. The client would come up with the actions, and then you will talk about, how that action plan needs to be implemented. Look, this is the end-to-end process in every session. In every session, your structure is going to remain the same. Only the content is going to be different. So yeah, Balraj.
So what will be the duration of this every session?
So every session, usually, again, it is between the client and the coach. So every session is usually 60 minutes to 90 minutes, right? When you sign up, say I sign up for 10 sessions with a client, and that every 10 session could be, each session could be somewhere between 60 to 90 minutes based on, again, agreement. And then these sessions could happen every week, or these sessions could happen every 15 days, or in between you can, again, arrive at an agreement to say what is the best frequency for us to have. So, and hence, these are all part of the agreement. These are all part of the initial agreement which happens with the client. So when you discuss what is the number of sessions which is required, what is the duration required, so what is that overall goal which you would like to achieve, right? All this gets discussed during the initial agreement session, which will establish the entire engagement. In that, you will talk about, how many sessions you need, what is the duration of the session, and what is modalities of the session, where do you meet, how long do you meet, what is the mode of interaction, right? What is the review? All this gets discussed during your initial meeting after the discovery session, when you are establishing the agreement with the client and the stakeholders. Once that is done in every session, so as I said, every session is a milestone, right? And it is like sub-goal. So sub-goal moving towards the larger goal, which has been established. So hence in every session, goal setting is important. Once you set the goal, then, exploring that goal, creating awareness, tapping into values and beliefs, and then, establishing actions, moving forward, and how do you move forward? So what are the different, how is that you're going to be accountable for this action? So, all that comes into play in every session. This process, what you're going through in PCC markers, which is 8 competencies, all that 8 competencies is applicable in every session. Every session. Right? And that is, yeah.
Ashwini, I have a question. This is Ravi. Can I?
I think Balraj had a follow-up. So let's hear from
I
Balraj.
Yeah.
I have one more question, ma'am. Like if you see, I am facing this issue. Maybe when now I'm practicing with my buddy, like, so I am not able to decide how many sessions should I conduct. It's like I take a problem and then we discuss and then we identify, we define, we come out of, we do action planning. But anyway, that is not going forward. But clearly, I'm not able to define, okay, for this issue, it may be 6 sessions. It may come with practice in future. However, at this state, I'm not able to define.
That is absolutely okay, Balraj, right? You won't get it at first, right? Because you're still learning, what is coaching, and, you need to still practice. How does the session look like? What is the goal setting? How does the actions look like? So then you will have an idea of, how do you want to engage? Sometimes the organizations will come and say that, look, I'm looking for only 6 sessions, right? As much as you would have a conversation and say that, hey, it looks like this goal might take longer time because you're having conversation with the client. You know the pace of how the client is moving. And also, you will seek client's input to say how long you want the session. All that will happen. And it comes with, as you start knowing the client, as you start knowing, what the engagement is, as you start getting absolutely comfortable with the process as well, right? So, and hence, usually sometimes, there are many ways, right? So organizations will come to you saying, I'm looking for 6 sessions. Or organization will come back and say that I'm looking for 10 sessions because that's my budget, right? So sometimes that gets defined. And during your discovery session, during your agreement session, so you will still know, and your client and you, when you have the conversation, you will possibly, and again, during the session, say you have signed up for 10 sessions. Possibly in six sessions, the client, whatever they wanted to achieve or, whatever they wanted to move towards, they've already done it in 6 sessions, right? So then again, at that point in time, you'll have a conversation. Look, there is no formula to say, you will arrive exactly to know these many sessions are needed, right? So these are the ballpark numbers. 6 to 10 sessions is the ballpark number. And sometimes you need to see how the client is moving forward in the session, right? So sometimes you might have signed up for 10 and then the client is happy by 6 and they want to close it. And it is okay to close it, right? So, and that is the reason, please don't get stuck with, how many sessions should be there. So sometimes it is organization defined, sometimes it is affordability defined, sometimes, you and the client will have the conversation and know that possibly, any behavioral change, as I said, even in my earlier sessions, any behavioral change, and usually coaching leads to behavioral change. Behavioral change takes around 6 months, right? 6 months to 1 year, right? So, but there are clients who will come back and say that, I need coaching intervention only for 3 months. And it's fine, have the conversation and then see that, whether it is worth the 3 months or you might have to extend, because then there'll always be review meetings. In the review meetings, you will discuss saying, what is the pace? Client will say, I'm moving this way, or possibly client will say, I need 2 more sessions. All that conversation will happen. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, Ian.
Yeah, I'm sort of intrigued by the word inquires. 3 of the markers have partners, which I guess means an agreed or shared discussion for that kind of establishing an agreement. Whereas 3 seems to be, I'm thinking about each session as well as discrete. Is it about exploring the big aim, or is it about exploring how each session is developing and is discrete? Because it's just the word inquires rather than partners I'm interested in.
Okay, it's a great observation, Ian. So if you look at all the 3 markers, as Ian pointed out, coach partners. So partners is where you're actually, it's like, what to say, it's like two people dancing and, in absolute sync, right? So you are partnering with your client to establish all of this, right? So that is where you will ask, you will facilitate that conversation, partner with the, client.
Yeah.
So when you say coach inquires is all about the curiosity, right? Because now you're establishing the importance of this goal for the client. So when you are establishing importance of that goal for the client is when you need to inquire and get deeper into, why it is important for you, right? So this is the typical why question.
Yeah.
Why
So
is it important to you?
And just picking up on the previous point, one of the previous point made, it's a bit like in a action planning stage where you've got your main goal and then you've got your discrete sort of targets, as it were. You might review those targets. So if something's not working or is not successful, is that part of the inquiry, or is it more specifically about feeling or outcome or?
Okay, so when you're saying, coach inquires as to what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in the session.
Yeah.
It's all about the goal for that particular session.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
I have a goal. So this goal for this session, what makes it important for you, right? So because I'm inquiring because I'm curious, and and again, I'm facilitating that curiosity to the client because the client digs deeper, reflects to say what makes this important, right? And that is why it is the inquiry. So rest all is more of, partnership. When it is inquiry, it is about to say that you are invoking something in the client to say what makes this important for you, why it is important to you, right? And again, you usually avoid asking why question, and that is the reason, it is inquiring. Inquiring is why, why it is important for you, what makes this important for you, how was this? Because then the moment you ask this question, client will reflect back about the goal. The client will reflect back how this goal is connected to the larger goal. And the client has sometimes, has the tendency to link that back to my core purpose. Right? So the important question invokes that in the client. And that is where they will establish saying that, this goal is actually important to me. And there are times where some of the goals, as you ask this question, the client might reflect back and say that, you know what, actually it is not so important for me, right? So that's a great point to catch on, to say that what is important for them. So then you again, revise the goal. So then you again go back and touch the goal to say, what is that goal which is important for you? What about this goal makes it important for you in this session? Does it help, yeah?
Yeah, it does. Very clear. Thank you. Very clear.
All right. Anyone else? Any other question? Otherwise, we can.
Ravi, please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, Ravi, sorry.
In continuing with the discussion, right? Like initially the overarching goal, or during the discovery phase, like we have identified the overarching goal and all. So like at that point of time itself, while defining the number of sessions, like do we need to come up with like each sub goal for each session, so that like anyway in the individual sessions those sub goal related discussions will happen, but in the first session itself, once the major goal is identified, then do we need to kind of break them into like the sub goals kind of thing and share based on that approach, like, okay, the client needs this many number of sessions. So what is the logical approach? Like, do we need to share those things initially? Like, because the client also needs to appreciate, right? Like 10 weeks means what the 10 weeks is going to do. Like, so that like if we share whatever we think that like in these 10 weeks, like each sub goal, like each session, we might have a structured process, then probably you can appreciate that. So like what's the actual take on that?
Okay, so Ravi, again, that's a I wouldn't say valid. It's definitely valid. It's a good question, because when you are talking about the overall goal, so you don't stop at just stating that I want to be promoted to senior leadership team, right? Because again, there also you will start exploring more as to what is meaningful for you? Why do you want to be in a senior leadership team, right? So, and then what is coming in the way? So when you start having those conversations, you will get to see, you will see, the client is coming up with, various points. The client will come back and say that it's very hard for me to, make a point to a leadership team when I'm making a pitch. I find very difficult in delegating tasks. So, and hence, the client will come up with, many things which is actually coming in the way to achieve that particular goal. You will have a sense, and the client will also have the sense to say that, there are few things. You might not come up with, 10 sub goals in the first session, right? But you will have a fair idea to say that, there are quite a few items to be worked on. And the moment you know that there are quite a few items to be worked on, so then the client is also convinced to say that, yes, it will take some time for me to, meet all of these, right? Because the client, it is very overwhelming for the client during the discovery session, during the agreement session, when you start asking questions. So because that will invoke a lot of thoughts for the client. And when the client comes back and say that, oh, actually, there is a lot of work for me to do for me to get there. And then you will have, some of those broad points, right? When I was having discussion with one of the clients, so the client came up with their overall goal. And then as we started exploring, so we figured out, we came up with actually 5 to 6 points in the first session itself, that, there are 5 to 6 points for us to work on. So, which gives you a fair idea to say that, yes, I think, we would possibly need 6 months of time, or we would possibly need 6 sessions, 8 sessions, or 10 sessions. Again, as I said, you'll not be accurate. It's impossible for you to be accurate, but you'll have a fair idea how much time is needed, right? And in the first session, as you rightly asked, you will be able to figure out what are the aspects which needs to be worked on. So you will again, have that idea. And again, if you have signed up for 10 sessions, will you have 10 goals already, sub goals? No, because goals are evolving, right? So once I say, in the first meeting, I have figured out there are possibly 5 sub goals. And as I start exploring first goal, second goal, the third goal might not even fit into those 5 which I identified earlier. Because, I'm moving forward. When I move forward, my awareness is different. My learning is different. So, and hence, what I'm looking for might be different. So, and hence, for you to start with, you will definitely get things to work on. And as it progresses, it evolves. And when it evolves, you partner with the client and keep moving forward. Yeah.
So what I understand from what you said is, right, so initially during the discussion, like at least we'll be having a fair measure of like some of the goals, like towards the end goal. So based on that assumption, we will specify some sessions, and we'll start with one of the items, like whatever we have identified, like 3 or 4 maybe initially, like to reach that goal. And then we'll start exploring more in achieving those sub goals.
Yes.
Am I right in saying that?
Yes, absolutely. And again, during the session, say, in this session, I'm talking about delegation, right? So by the end of the session, so then, you'll partner with the client, and then you'll come up with the action plan. And in the next session, in the follow-up session, you will check in as to what happened to those actions. When you check in, there could be something which is emergent for the client. And the client will come back and say that, I did it really well. And possibly, the follow-up was establishing trust with the team members, right? So then he would say that, my effective delegation has actually helped me in start seeing trust. My team members have started developing trust. I don't want to discuss this now. Or they might come back and say that delegation, I tried doing this, but I found this difficulty in delegating, right? So because when I delegate, my urge to do it myself is something which I'm not able to stop. So the client might then decide that this is something which I want to explore in this session, right? And hence, as I mentioned, all your goals, sub goals will be moving towards the larger goal, but it is evolving, right? So the client will come back, because there is a lot is happening in that session and between the session. In the session, something has been invoked, actions have been taken, because in this gap from one session to the next session, I'm implementing these actions. When I'm implementing this action is when it is real for me, right? So when it is real for me, I will then figure out what is coming in my way, what is it I'm experiencing, and that becomes a new learning for me, it's a new awareness for me. And then I might bring that into the next session. Okay, so and hence it is going to be fluid, but at the same time, you will have what is your overall engagement would look like, right? And that is when I said, you will keep having review meetings. And in those review meetings, there are people who achieve their results quick, actions quick, and someone who has deep self-awareness, someone who, wants to look within a lot as compared to others, right? So they might move faster, right? So, or it could be vice versa as well. So, and hence it's very fluid. And the only thing which possibly you can keep in mind is any behavioral change is going to take time. If somebody is coming and saying that, have 10 sessions in 1 month and show me the results, it's very hard to do that, right? And hence, there is a very, what to say, very hazy line to say that, what is the specific time frame. And that is where you say that 6 months to 1 year. And it's 6 months to 1 year, then, you can look at either 8 session to 12 sessions, 8 sessions to 16 sessions, however it is, right? So, and hence, it will be fluid, but when you're having conversation, just see that what they are signing up for. As I said, it has got a lot of influence, when the client has to make the decision. One is, their availability itself, their investment, and, what their sponsor is looking for. So there are many elements for you to make a decision. But these are some of the things which you can keep in mind when you're looking at number of sessions. Yeah.
Thanks, Ashwini. Got good clarity. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Any other question?
Yeah, ma'am. So it will be Alka and then Vijaya and then Reema.
Sure. Yeah, Alka.
Ashwini, my question is, like, suppose if we have signed for, say, 6 sessions and the client wants to close it by after, say, 4 sessions. So it is okay, we can close it. But if during the coaching journey, we come to know that, or we just discover that it requires more than 6 sessions. So if client agrees, yes, I am okay for that. So do we have to make changes in the same agreement, or do we have to make another agreement for that?
Oh, you will make an amendment to that agreement. It is like an addendum.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Once you have that conversation, if you feel that the client is also believes that they need to have more number of sessions, you can always have an addendum and then rework the agreement.
Thank you.
Okay, who is next?
Vijaya.
Okay. So, Ashwini, I have 2 questions. The first question is, so for all these markers, can we use those like specific words? Like if you see in the one that you just shared now, it says like, how do you define, or what makes you define this, or why is it important to you? Like there are some key words in those markers. So can we frame our own sentences like a 1-liner or a 2-liner, very short questions, which will have the emphasis on those particular words and start using them? Can we use verbatim those questions? That is what my, sometimes if the question is small, we can use it verbatim. Can we use it verbatim? Or sometimes if the question is too long, or if the PCC marker is too long, can we take the keywords so that we can put them in our questions and ask the client?
Absolutely. So the essence of that question needs to come out, right? Not necessarily you need to, by heart and repeat the entire sentence. No, the essence of the question need to come out. And especially from an evaluation standpoint, when the evaluator is looking at it, so they're going to look for some of these keywords, right? Okay. So to say measure of success, and what is that you would like to address, or what makes it important. These are some of the keywords they will look for in the evaluation. And again, these are some of the keywords which will elicit that response in the client. So, and hence, please feel free to use it. And when you use it, again, please don't make it verbatim the way it is.
Okay.
Because you're in the conversation. You're present in the moment. right? You don't know how the conversation is evolving. And when you're in the moment, you can't orchestrate a question. The question needs to come spontaneously, right? And that spontaneity will happen as you keep practicing.
So that is my first question. My follow-up question is like, is there any, I mean, I did not read the coach study guide today, so I don't know if it is there or not, but is there any tabular form of kind of thing where we can say, okay, these competencies will be used during exploration, or these PCC markers we can use towards action commitment? Like, is there that kind of structure?
Yes. So, I think in CC11, so where
the one that the big triangle is there, that is the one you're talking about?
Yeah, one is that, that's more of, what are the different,
yes,
levels of conversation you're going to have. When you look at PCC markers, right, in CC 11 or 10, it might have been covered. All the PCC markers have been covered. So when you look at all the PCC markers, so you will be able to see, for you to establish agreement, what are the markers, right? And then for you to create awareness, what are the markers? Presence, what are the markers? There are 8 markers like that. Okay.
I think I did not put the question right. I got that, like, we discussed about all the markers, but what I'm saying is, let's say when we get into a coaching session with the client, we have like, first we will try to explore what the client wants to talk about, and then we will explore the things, and then we will get the questions around self-awareness, and then in the end towards action commitment, and when we can meet again, that kind of stuff, right? So that is the way how, like, every coaching session goes, right? So in that, is there any specific link, like one-on-one link, like, okay, during the issue identification, during the like, let's say when we talk about that particular session objective, we can ask him, like, okay, what is the marker that we just discussed, like, what is that you want to achieve from today's session? So this PCC markers we will use when we are trying to identify the goal of the session. So like, I can mark that, okay, when I'm trying to identify the goal, okay, these are the 4 markers that I need, that should be there. So in that way, do we have a tabular, or do we have a flowchart kind of thing, like what PCC markers we can use at what part of the coaching session? Like, let's say in the action commitment phase, like, if I have to say, okay, what is that you're going to do about to get this objective, then the client will say something. So at that time, are there any specific PCC markers that I can ask him so that I can get my score? That is what I'm asking. Like, do we have a tabular kind of thing like that?
Absolutely. And that is what I'm saying. So that is all clearly defined in the PCC markers. Okay. So now the goal setting is 3.1 to 3.4. Okay. So, and then there is cultivates trust and safety, maintains presence, listens actively. So, there is again 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 5, 6, 6.7, listens actively, evokes awareness, and then facilitates client growth. Facilitates client growth is where, all your action planning would come in. So, and again, we will take you through these markers one by one, right? So today we are only focusing on goals. So the rest of the things we will take you through one after the other markers, so that you're very clear about the markers. And so though this has 8 competencies, so not necessarily, when you're having a conversation, competency 5 comes, and then competency 6 comes, and then competency 7 comes. No, it is not in that order. Okay. So your overall structure is, there is goal setting, you set the goal. And even with that goal setting, I said, there are 4 markers. In that 4 markers, pretty much, you can, what to say? Yeah, so you can be fluid about those markers, right?
Yes.
Not necessarily 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. It can be 3.1, 3.3, 3.4, and 3.2 as well. Okay, so there is a goal setting, and then there is invoking awareness about that particular goal. The invoking awareness then will mark markers for active listening, presence, creating trust and intimacy. All of that will happen during the conversation. Okay. So, and then comes the last part, which is the action planning. And that action planning is the CC8. So CC8 usually comes at the end. Okay, there is goal setting and there is CC8. So goal setting, CC3, competency 3 comes at the beginning. Competency 8 comes at the last. In between, everything is fluid.
Okay, I got that. Thank you very much, Ashwini. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other question? I would request you to put your video on.
I have a question, Rima this side. I have a network issue, so can't put the video, otherwise voice quality will go down.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so my question is, I understood, right, that in every session, right, we have to, maybe the goals can be redefined, right? We have a big goal and we define the session, right? Maybe it can take 5 sessions, 6 sessions. During the contract we have defined, and that goal session can go down or it can come up during the each session, right? What will be the outcome which is coming out from every session, coaching session? So my question is, at the time of contract, we have also signed some commercial part, right? So I need to understand if this goal session will going to vary, right? If it's going to be extended and if going to be reduced, then isn't that contract part, that commercial part will also get impacted? Yes. So and right. So yes. So at that stage we can revise that commercial with the client as an amendment, and how we should take it.
Okay, so there are various ways coaches do this. Okay, so sometimes you sign up for a specific number of sessions, and then coaches would say that, look, these are the sessions which you're signing up for, and then you would pay for all the sessions. Okay, but usually there will be a clause in the agreement to say that, if both the client, the cancellation clause, right? So some of the coaches, possibly they would say that, no, you signed up, I have committed my time, and hence, you need to pay for all the sessions. And mostly the coaches, because, at the end of the day, it is partnering with the client, and you are in the service of the client, right? So if the client is able to achieve their goals in 8 sessions, though they have signed up for 10 sessions. So in the agreement, again, it is how do you draft your agreement? How do you come up with your agreement? So you will come back and say that whenever the client feels these are the minimum sessions I'm signing for, and if the client feels that, they have achieved this within, say, 8 sessions, so then I'm okay to forego the 2 sessions payment, because anyway, I'm not having the session. Or I have the 10 session, and then the client says, I want to extend it for, 4 more sessions. And again, you make an amendment to say that, it will include 4 sessions, and then these are the revised commercials.
Okay. So is it also sometimes, maybe you can share from your experience. So let's say during the session we come out, okay, 4 more session is required. So is it something happen that clients think of, okay, unnecessarily the session is getting extended, and I have to pay, then that trust or something, the trust on the coach is going to be, I can say, liquidated at that moment. Is it happens?
Okay, so Rima, and again, it is because this is not coach's need, right? So the moment it's coach's need, so it is, if it is your need for the client to extend 4 more sessions, then all that question would come into play. If it is a client's need, right? So client's need, this is again, part of the agreement, okay? I mean, in the sense, agreement during when this conversation happens. So the client will say that, I would need 4 more sessions, and then initiates the conversation with the coach. So then, they both will agree to say, sometimes the coach will not be able to have that time, right? There is a possibility, because, I'm occupied, I'll not be able to have 4 more sessions. So you will have, 2 people need to have that conversation to say that what makes sense to the client and what makes sense to the coach. So only then you will be able to extend. So, usually extension comes from client's request and not from coach. It's not initiated by the coach. It is initiated by the client. Client will ask you for, I need 4 more sessions. Looks like, I'm still in the process, and I might need some more time, and I might need your help as a coach. Right? And hence I want to extend it for 4 more sessions. Possible.
Understood.
And there, there actually, the trust would come into play, because, the client believes in you. That is the reason they want to continue with the engagement. They believe that, they're going to get there in next 4 sessions.
All right, yeah, understood. Thanks, Ashwini.
Anyone else? Any other?
One just quick point. So ethically, if suppose a client has signed in for 10 sessions and we are able to achieve the goals in 8 sessions, 6 sessions. So ethically, don't you think whatever is written in the contract is a separate thing? But you must have come across the situations. That's why I'm asking you. So usually then coaches give the feedback to them and how it works, something. I'm just intrigued to know about that.
Yeah, usually, when you say the contract has ended, because client can end the contract at any point in time. Okay, so please keep that in your minds, because it is driven by the client. So if client wishes that I need to end this engagement, usually you end that engagement, right?
Yeah.
You will definitely ask for feedback as to what happened, what did not happen. All of that will happen. You will have that feedback session, but you're in the service of the client. Coach is in the service of the client. What client wishes is what you grant. Right? And hence, if the client says, I want to end this engagement, it will end. Right? And it will end amicably, have that closure to say that, how it worked for them and what are the resources which needs to be made available for them to, continue whatever their learning was. You will end it as amicably as possible,
Yes.
and you will end it with the client feeling resourceful, right? So it could have ended haphazardly. It doesn't matter. But you will leave that experience with the client as a coach, right? So that is key. So and again, usually the way it works is, coaches don't really demand for, rest of the session money, right?
Absolutely.
Unless it is, I can't really find any reason, because I'm not offering my service, right? Yes, it has kind of disrupted my, timetable, but usually, that is how it ends. Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions? Anyone?
Ma'am, just one thing. Will we get any kind of outline what the agreement can be all about? What all points to be included in that? Any outline of that?
Yeah, I think your coach study guide has that. It's quite a detailed one. Please have a look at it. You have all the questions. In that questions, you can tick. You can do yes, no. You can put your markers. You can put your ratings. However you want to use it. Quite resourceful study guidance. Yeah. So you do have that agreement, and there is a list of questions there. So please make use of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I see Ujjwala has typed in here. It is like customer is the king, so is the client. Yes, Ujjwala, because so it is because the coach is even from an ICF definition standpoint, from an ethical practice standpoint, client is primary here. Coach is in the service of the client. So and hence it is right. So usually it is client who defines the entire thing. It is necessary to end it as per guidelines, and then even besides the guidelines, it makes sense for good relations at all times to be maintained for market standing and benefits. Absolutely, Milan. So when okay, Hitesh, I'll come back to you. So it's absolutely right, Milind. How you end an engagement talks a lot about you as a coach. Okay. So whatever is the experience, at the end of the day, you need to hold yourself as a coach, right? So, and that is very, very key when you end any engagement, however it has ended. It might have ended abruptly. It might have ended with extension. It might have ended, however it is. What, again, you are in the service of the client. You will leave the client resourceful, having, whatever experience they had, they will have best of the experience of you as a coach. That is how you leave the engagement. Yeah. One is, for your standing, your own standing. And the other one is, coaching as a practice and coaching as a community is a standing. Okay. So this is the experience you will leave with the client. Okay. So yeah, Hitesh.
Yeah, so regarding, hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So regarding when client want to cancel the contract, so I would like to share here that I also do contract with clients, and I also, not only that, I will provide money back guarantee. And once that period is over, I ask them whether they want to continue the coaching or are they not satisfied. So during that guarantee period, they definitely can cancel. But after that, they have to commit to me that okay, we are satisfied with whatever you have performed in 1 week or 10 days, and we want to continue for next this much sessions. And they commit that yes, we will continue and we will not cancel, kind of. So that's what I wanted to share here. That we can have agreement like this as well.
Uh, Sorry,
Because
agreement. Yeah.
yeah, so because what happens generally, we are providing our time, not only time, but we are also thinking in future also that what is required for them, and we have planned 6 months. And in that case, if they will leave in between, it is not only our financial loss, but at the same time their loss for the results they are about to get, because first 3 to 4 months are just going only to make the foundation strong. And when result is about to come, if at that time they will leave, so I am also responsible to keep them in the process, so that they not only they don't leave, but at the same time they will get the result they desire.
Yeah, absolutely, Hitesh. During your agreement, during your discovery session, this is what you're going to establish. So, like, some of your do's and don'ts and expectations, right? So, this
Right.
is what you will clearly articulate to say that any changes would take minimum this number of time, right? And it is a process for you to experience it. And usually, clients stay with you, usually, right? Unless it is some fundamental difference. So
Yes.
usually
Yeah.
it happens, which
Yep.
is okay, right? Because you are getting to know each other, you are getting to know, how you're partnering with each other. So all that you will get to know as the session goes by, right? But usually, whatever you have agreed in the agreement, because you're upfront to say that, what is it you're expecting in this entire engagement? Very, very important, right? So the moment you establish that, the client is already kind of, has visualized it, and client has already seen that, this is what it looks like, because you're not throwing any surprises. So you're stating that all in the agreement. But in between, if there are, so you can amicably end it.
So why I am sharing it, so that so that people can also have an idea. Right, I just give them 10 days to 15 days guarantee period where they can understand how I perform, and when they think that yes, this is going to work for me. Otherwise, my 10 days definitely is a bonus to them as a free bonus. But when they think that yes, my coaching is making a difference to them, and that point of time, now they will give me consent. Okay, now we are not going to cancel the contract, and we are going to pay whatever we have decided for this prolonged period of time. So
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't say that, usually that is the reason you have your discovery session, right? So in the discovery session, you will understand, the chemistry, and then you will say that, yes, I want to work, both the client and the coach wants to work with each other, right? That is what is established in the discovery session, both for the client and for the coach, right? So, and that becomes a very critical thing for you to move ahead with the engagement.
sorry again,
So,
sorry to disturb you again. So what I am trying to tell is, it is not customer is the king, because coach is also the king. So we are also having the exact say in the coaching process and the agreement, that these are my condition. Definitely you are having your condition, but these are my condition, and at these conditions we will complete the contract, because we both are equal. You also have right to understand and leave the coaching contract. I also have right to understand and leave the coaching contract. That's what I am trying to tell.
yes, Nilesh, it is definitely, two party, but at the end of the day, why we say we are at the service of the client is because, you're partnering with the client for client's growth. That is something, which we can never get out of our sight.
But
Okay?
right in that case, we are just destroying the basic understanding of coaching. That when, if at any point in time, if we think that we are more smarter than client, then we are not in coaching. If you are thinking that we are below the client, we are as equal and at par with client. That's what. I mean,
yeah, absolutely right. In the process, in the sessions, it's always you are equal partners. So, but when it comes to some of these agreements, right, to say that some of the ifs and buts and how many sessions and I don't want the service of the coach anymore, right? It is still my decision as a client. So that can still happen, but in the entire process, it is definitely a partnership. It's not about somebody is superior, somebody is inferior. It doesn't work that way in coaching. In coaching, both are at the same pedestal. Okay. So,
sorry
but
again. Let me, one more. Sorry again. Sorry to interrupt you. But suppose if client is ready to continue the process for 6 months, and if coach leaves after 3 months, then what will be the mental state of the client? That, oh, I am about to get the result, and now this coach is not honest and leaving the process in between, and I am not getting the results because now again I have to spend some with somebody else next 6 months. So same feeling can happen to us. Okay, now I am working for this client honestly, and now he is leaving the process in between. So what I am saying is, we can decide our conditions where definitely definitely they will, but we can also decide this is what I want to raise the point that it is not that we are always at the mercy of client or their decision. That's what.
um,
Anyway, sorry to disturb, but this is what I think and think we shared.
no, Mukesh, I think you bring a different thought here. However, what I would say is, whatever is your expectation from this engagement, you would have agreed that in your agreement itself, right?
Yeah.
So later, there is no question of this is what I wanted, or this is how it should have happened. It wouldn't happen like that. In the agreement, you have clearly set what are the ground rules, what are the expectations, right? So message here is, when you are ending a conversation or when you are ending an engagement, it is very important for you to end that engagement in a very resourceful manner, right? Because then that is how the client is experiencing you as a coach, right? So that experience can't be compromised with at all, at any cost, right? So
Thank you. Thank you.
okay. All right. So let us now, move on to practice session. So let us just look at the goal setting. We will have 10 minutes, and then after that we can, go into breakout rooms. So I need 2 volunteers who can practice goal setting today using these 4 markers. So who would want to volunteer? Neha. Great. Okay. So who else? So who is going to partner with Neha? Hey, come on. So we are quite a lot of us.
You have better clarity.
So Balraj, you want to?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay, I'll partner.
Okay.
All right. So is there anyone else? Because I know, Milind partnered with me. So
Okay.
anyone else? No, if there is no one else, then, Milind, you can do. But, please do participate, right? It is very important. So when you're coming in, because again, this is also, you are breaking the shackles of being out there, right? So it is very important for you to be out there. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to make mistake. It is okay to, it's okay. This is a safe space. This is a space which is created by all of us, and it is safe. Please experiment, fail, succeed, whatever you want. Please feel free to participate. Yeah. Okay. So we have Prashant. Okay. All right, Milind. So we have Prashant. So we have a different participant. Thank you, Milind. All right, Neha and Prashant now. So who would want to be the coach and who would want to be the client?
Ladies
So
first,
Prashant,
she will decide.
So if
Okay.
Prashant, if you're okay, I would try to be a coach today.
Please, obviously, come on. Why try? You are a good coach anyway.
Okay. So let's go off the video, all of us, and then Neha and Prashant, you will have 10 minutes. Okay. So in that 10 minutes, just look at the PCC markers, and again, use that language, right? establish the goal, just the goal. You know, those 4 markers you're going to use, and then you're going to establish what is the goal for today's session, and you'll stop there. Okay? You'll have 10 minutes. All right. So is there any questions, either Neha or Prashant, before you start?
No, it's all right. It's all right. So much of questions were made to you, and so beautifully I explained. No, I think no, thanks. No question from my side. नेहा जी, आप कुछ सवाल पूछना चाहती है तो?
नहीं sir, नहीं. I think we can start the session.
Okay, start it. Right.
Okay. All right. So we'll all go off video, and then it's only 2 of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Prashant. Yeah. So hi Prashant, how are you doing?
Yeah, fine, Neha ji, I'm fine. Not so fine, but fine. I mean, it is a mixture of that.
So why not so fine?
I mean, when I'm sitting in front of you, I feel those kind of things, no? How to tell you those kind of things? Because okay, I have to define something to tell you, and we have to work together on that, no?
Right.
So, I mean, there are many things which are not going good, and I would like to have your kind of consultation or guidance on how to make it okay. So
First,
from that
please,
point of view,
please
not
just
fine.
be comfortable. I mean, we have a lot of sessions ahead, so whatever is immediately coming to your mind, just speak up. Just whatever is there on your mind.
Okay, one thing which, okay, last time also we discussed it during our last session, but one thing which I would like to do in this session, particularly with you, set kind of a goal for overcoming the procrastination. No? I mean, many times it happens, I intend to do something, I have a strong desire to do that, and I feel if I do that, it will be good. But then I'm not making myself do those kind of things. And the time just passes. I mean, how the time passes, I really don't know how the time passes, but it happens. So these are things which normally disturbs me.
So you are saying that you want to do something, but you want to do, but you're not able to do.
Yeah, but because there are maybe the natural distractions, there are distractions created by me. There are, you know, nowadays, the social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, phone calls, friends, and what I want to do does not happen. And if I let us say I plan, okay, by 4 o'clock today, I will write this blog. I'm a Facebook blog writer, and I have something in mind. I say, no, I think today morning I will put it on my Facebook page. And I start taking phone, and then some message comes, then it goes. Something else happens, then it goes. And then I really feel kind of a restless. I want to do it, I'm not able to do it. I mean, these are kind of a funny situation I land myself in. So why it should happen? I mean, I would love to kind of discuss with you and see whether I can.
Let's begin with one statement. You said you like to write blogs. So in the morning, you think that you want to write a blog. You try to work towards it. So what is it that you feel that you will achieve after writing the blog?
Yeah, sure. It is a great kind of feeling, no? Once you write a blog, go through that 3-4 times, correct it, read it again, then you feel some kind of a great. And when you finally go to the Facebook, copy it there, copy paste it there, see for once again on the last kind of a look, make some changes, comma here, comma there, and then when you press that post button, no, it feels a kind of a great feeling, no? Yeah, okay, I have done something. And then obviously next is to eagerly wait for the first likes and second likes and some comments, and that feeling is a good feeling. I mean, many people, they call me many times, or they write there, or they send a WhatsApp message, "Yaar, bahut acha blog tha tera, bahut maza aaya padh ke." But then this takes me, normal case mein what can be a easy thing, no? 10 o'clock I think of something, and next day morning the blog comes. No, it comes 7 days.
No, so when you write a blog, what is it that takes you to write a blog? For example, you work on the content, or is it a natural, thought that comes in the morning? So is there any topic that you want to choose, or it's just, just explain more on what kind of blogs you write and how you decide what you want to write?
Topic is clear. I want to write on this. I generally have the structure clear. I generally have the conversations and all the things clear. But the point, Nehaji, is not that. Point is that taking the mobile in hand and started writing it, or sitting in front of the laptop, writing it, that itself I'm not able to do.
Why?
Which is,
What do you
I
think
don't know whether it is
stops
a, which is a psychological thing, or it is not that, I'm not able to write. Many times it happens, no, you want to write something, but then you can't think of words, you can't think of the start beginning, you can't know what is the content of that. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Normally I'm very clear. It goes on keeping in my mind, and many times I feel, अरे लिखो यार, अभी 12 बज गया, अभी तक I have not written. But then नहीं होता है, and at the end of the day, I feel sad कि अरे यार, I missed it. Okay, at least tomorrow I will do it, or just now I'll do it, like that kind of thing. So this is a very bad habit, and it happens not once, not twice. It is a kind of a constant. So I would love to work with you and find out how. I mean, what I want to achieve is that a thought comes to my mind, a theme comes to my mind, and then the structure is ready. I will write it within half an hour. I'll complete it and do away with that kind of thing. So what is that which is stopping? I'm not able to understand. Maybe subconsciously I'm aware
Let's try
of
and
that.
find out. So because this is bothering you a lot, that what stops you for not doing it, let's try to understand that aspect a little bit more. So you're saying that you know the structure, you know the topic, everything is very clear. So, and what I understand is that you try to write also, right?
Right.
So while writing, is it unclarity of thoughts that stop you from writing, or you get distracted by something else?
I think it is not a clarity. It is just what we normally call starting trouble. If I can use that, starting trouble.
Teething problems.
Yeah, it is starting trouble in the sense was that that I should start. Okay, now I will sit down and start writing it. That particular thing, no.
So you mean to say कि वो एक start difficult होता है. Once you start writing, then things come automatically.
Yeah, then it's okay. Then it's okay. Then quickly.
सिर्फ उसको एक बार push button press करना is difficult.
Correct. वो push button में difficulty है थोड़ा सा. There is some problem in push button.
हाँ, so वही I am just trying to understand on that. So you get मतलब वो push button आप क्यों नहीं press कर पाते हो? Because you get attracted towards something else, distracted by your actions. I mean, कुछ आप क्या करते हो उस टाइम पे? मतलब जब आपको पता है कि you want to write a blog, but you're not right. So you're just sitting idle, thinking about it, or you're doing something else. So what exactly happens that stops you to push that button?
Perhaps I get distracted by the things which are much more easier. Like what going through the WhatsApp, much more easier. No? I mean, or writing some WhatsApp replies, that is much more easier. Or possibly even looking at the Facebook, going through the blogs and writing some, clicking some yes or no, it could be much more easier. So possibly, I mean, there is some thinking. It takes some energy for me to write, and I'm not able to collect that energy. And rather than waiting to collect energy, I'm dissipating it by possibly going through WhatsApp messages, by talking with my granddaughters, playing with them, or doing some other work in the house, and the time flies just like that, no? And I feel really sad. I mean, my productivity, my output could be about 3 blocks per week. Finally, I end up only going 1 block per week.
So any thoughts that how you could improve this? I'll just try and give you one example. Like in exams, they always say that always target the difficult questions first. Set a timer for yourself, do the difficult questions, and then once you complete those difficult questions, and you have end mein last ka time where you can just quickly do the simple questions. So can you try doing something like that? Because what I understood from you is that you avoid the things which require more effort, and you quickly do things which are more easy. Your hands on it, and does not involve too much effort. So you already know the problem that you're facing, right? You're trying to just push away the things which require more effort. But probably what I understood from you is that is something which will give you more happiness, right?
Yeah, perhaps what you say, right. But then, yeah, I mean, you have said it correctly, but still I'm not able to get that particular thing. No? Like I said, there is a starting trouble. So ये switch में जो खराबी है, so open the switch and you check the loose connections and tighten this connection. I'm not sure something. Okay, I'm getting your point. You said कि like example of exam you gave. I'm not still comfortable. I'm not still comfortable.
So we'll work on that. So first, let's just define the goal. So far, what I've understood is that probably you want to do something, but then it is the comfort factor that comes into the way. You try doing things which are more easy, more comforting, while doing, and you just kind of push away the things which need more effort. So just coming to that point, do you think that you lack anything to do those difficult things? Is there any thought in your mind which tells you that, what makes it, why do you think it becomes a difficult task for you writing a blog? What is that aspect that makes you feel it is difficult?
Maybe I see just laziness, because I'll tell you an example. Today I want to write a blog on a Japanese management system, a 5S management system. I wrote 6 blogs. 6 are there. The 7th I'm writing. Oh, sorry, 5 I completed, 6 I'm writing. It is the last one. And after this is last one written, I'm going to put it into P and do it with that. If you ask me to narrate you what I'm going to write, I can start it within 3 to 4 minutes. I will let the entire blog. But then somehow sitting and typing that into the laptop is what I'm not able to do.
So,
I'm not able to do.
Okay.
So now,
okay, Neha and Prashant. Thank you for that. And I'm going to step in now. All right, yeah, good try, Neha. And I think you come across as a very very, very soft in voice, and you're just there. You're very keen to understand what is happening, and
correct.
So there's so much of what to say, kind of which can establish that bonding, right? That's the kind of voice modulation you have. That's the kind you're going to ask, and there is you have a very pleasant demeanor, when you're asking the question. Okay, so quickly before we get on to breakout rooms, Prashant, what was your experience? Because we said we are going to establish goal today, right?
Yes.
So what was your experience? Do you think a goal was established?
Not very clearly, frankly. Nehaji, please don't misunderstand.
No, absolutely, sir.
Yeah. You are the client, right? So you're going to say what I've experienced. So don't worry about Neha. Yeah. So we're all learning. So don't worry about Neha. So you as a client, did you see that the goal was established?
No, I don't think so, because frankly, she was trying very hard to understand the problem and try to make me think why it should be done and all that. But distinctly, okay, Prashant. So today our goal is to you are talking about a procrastination. Our goal of this session is that you will come out of, or you will get some 2 or 3 solutions for you to come out of the procrastination. Let us say, if that is a goal I can define, that didn't come out very clearly. But she tried to go from one step, then she went to next step, asking me what kind of situation it will be when you are able to write the goal, what kind of your mental situation. That she briefly touched first, second, and third marker nicely. The last marker, I'm not sure whether she could she could not come out very clearly on that. And the distinct phases, yes, now the goal is set. Now you tell me, why do you think the goal is important? That is the second marker. The third marker is, so what are the steps that you feel we should take to go for that goal? That is the third marker. Those kind of things, they were okay. I don't know whether the coaches off with that client in that strict business, 1, 2, 3, 4, but somewhere I should have obtained that comfort key. Yeah, now this coach is taking me to that, and now I'm comfortable, because that feeling didn't come very frankly.
Okay,
very frankly.
All right, yeah. So thank you, Prashant. And Neha, what was your experience?
Well, I completely agree with whatever Prashant said.
Hey, no.
That's fine. Let Neha share. That's okay. Yeah.
So, the thing is that actually I was finding it difficult to establish one goal, because he came up with different thoughts. One thought was that I try to do easy things first and the difficult ones, get procrastinated. Then he said I become lazy. Then at the same time, he said, I want to be more productive. Productivity gives me more satisfaction and happiness. So I just wanted to kind of, get more clarity before establishing the goal.
Sure. Yeah. So Neha, I just quickly give my observations, and then, we will want the breakout rooms. So you tried using a lot of clients' language. And again, what you need to be aware of is, you're going to use client's language. You're not going to use your own language. Okay. So it is the client. So you are rephrasing, paraphrasing the client's language, because it is not for you to understand, as much as, but it is for the client to understand. Okay. And you tried using client's language. At the same time, you used your own interpretations and, language as well. That is something which you need to be watchful of. And I think, you were almost very close to the goal setting, right? You were everywhere. You tried, asking questions, and then, he keyed on to the procrastination. And then you said, what is stopping you from doing it? And in one statement, writing blog is something, which, for you to start, and, the push button. And again, those are some of the phrases which you will help the client to have clarity about, what they are trying to say, right? So though it was a new word which you used, but Prashant latched onto that word, right? So when you use it, you are very close to establishing the goal. It's very important for you to state the goal, right? Because what happened was you kind of, got onto the goal, but it's important to state the goal. The moment you state the goal, it is very clear to the client, saying, this is the goal we are looking at for you and also for the client. Yeah. And also, you sought lots of clarity as to, what Prashant is going through, right? Which is great. And also when, you also tried, and again, you didn't use those specific words in the Marcus. My suggestion is, please start using those words. Okay, so then it becomes very clearer to you. So you started saying that, what is coming in your way? What is that stopping you from doing it, right? You did use that. And then he started saying, there are a couple of things, etc., all of that. So the urge for you is, please, I'll find a solution for you. So Neha, the way you came across was, you were so desperate that, Prashant should have a solution. You were trying so hard that, he has a solution. Don't worry about the solution. It's not your solution, right? It is Prashant's solution. Stay with him. Just stay with him. And again, when you're establishing the goal, you're just establishing the goal. You're not solving the problem. And you will not solve the problem. Okay? You will only facilitate in solving the problem. So don't get into this pressure of, the client needs to have a solution. And, I have to try really hard to have that solution. Don't get there. Yeah. Right? Not needed. So just stay with the process. When you are establishing the goal, whatever 4 markers is, just practice that. Yeah, just practice that. Stay with the client, understand client's language, use the client's language. Don't hurry to explain your interpretation. Not needed. Okay. So just stay with the client. Just stay with the client. Let the client reflect. Let the client talk. Ask those questions one after the other. If you feel it is very hard, look at the book and ask those questions in the initial phases. No problem at all. Right? So keep those questions, and then, ask those questions one after the other. Your presence will be compromised. Your listening will be compromised. But you will start using some of those words, keywords, and languages and the questions, right? Because what is important here is for you to establish the goal. And the moment you start practicing this, one after the other, it will come naturally to you. And then you will stay with the client. You will understand what the client is saying, not saying. All of that will happen. Don't be in a hurry to solve the problem for the client. Yeah. So I felt, did you experience that? So
yes, absolutely. No, I'm completely with you. I think I mean, at a certain point, we started looking at the solution also. So that it should have been just goal setting.
Just the goal setting.
Yeah.
So in fact, I also agree. Just 1 minute, half a minute. I also agree that as a client, I know what is my problem. I'm vaguely aware of the solution. Solution was that, yaar, when you want to start writing, start writing, stop everything and start writing. But it is not so easy. I know it is not so easy. And she's trying to tell me, it is, you do it, I mean, the solution that suddenly she went on the solution mode, that what she was suggesting were subconsciously not acceptable to me, because I know that. I know that. It is that, it is that kind of situation. So possibly, if you had given some more time, then I might want to say, yeah, at least this person understand my problem. That you understand my problem, that feeling I didn't get.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vijay says here, coach the person, not the problem. Absolutely. Bang on. Coach the person. Focus on the who of the person. Focus on the person. Don't focus on the problem. Problem, Prashant will figure out. Right? You focus on the person. It's very important for you to focus on the person, who of the person. Right? Then, they will figure out. He said, right? He said that, I felt like I was not listened to. That's what Prashant's experience was, right? It's very important to listen to the client, right? Listen, just stay with the client, understand the person. Problem is just one of the things which the person is grappling with, right? So that problem will eventually have a solution. Focus on the person, listen to the person, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye.
No, thanks for volunteering, both of you. And
Come on, it is a learning. No, I mean, it really helps you to learn better.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nehaji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so quickly, let us have, is it okay for us to extend for 10 more minutes? Anyone has a hard stop at 8? Yeah, okay. All right, so let us do a 10 minutes breakout session, Shivani. And then in 10 minutes breakout session, you will just, again, look at the markers. Okay, if you want, I'll present the screen. Look at the markers, just establish the goal. That's it. Okay, so use those 4 markers, and using those 4 markers, just establish the goal. Yeah, the moment you get on to your buddies, decide, who's going to be the coach. We'll not be able to do, both ways. So one of you can be a coach and just follow the markers and then see whether you have established the goal. Okay.
So I open all the rooms now.
Yes, please.
There will be one room with 3 people because the partner is not available right now. So I am just opening it up.
Okay.
Hey,
So I have presented the screen just for your convenience.
I'm also moving, ma'am, now. Yeah.
So breakout room is going to be till, you can make it as 10 minutes, yeah?
Ashwini? Ashwini?
Yeah, Hemant.
Right. So you have to click on the breakout rooms, these 4 boxes, right? Once you click on it, the window will open, and then on the right hand side, you will see join, join, join. So you have to join any of the rooms.
I just see the groups.
Right.
And
And on the right hand side, right? So the group 1, for example, you go to the right hand side in the
got
box,
it.
join. Yeah. So you start from the group 1. I will start from the last group.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Vasudha, is it only you in this? Hello? Vasudha? So you're back, yeah. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. I was alone. Nobody was in my breakout room, and then Shivani sent me into another one, so I just observed. But that was fine. That was cool. Not a problem.
Okay. So I entered, I think, you were there, you were the observer, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I went from breakout room 1 to, I can't remember which one it was now. It was with Ravi and Vijaya. Yeah. So I'm in an interesting position at the moment because I've not been able to return back to India. So I'm actually in the UK, and I've just got a new headship in the UK. So yeah, it's quite difficult really, but yeah, can't get back unfortunately to GEMS. So yeah, it's good for coaching. It's given quite a lot of stories and narratives, I must admit.
Okay, so I see people have come back. So now all the coaches in the breakout room, I saw, there were a few rooms with 3 people, and there was, I think Vasudha was left out. So
I have allocated the room to Vasudha ma'am, but I don't know how come she has not joined. Because, yeah, and she is partnering with Ian actually.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, I
that
saw
there
that
was
she was not there. Okay. All right. So all the coaches now. So in the pairs. So the coaches. So please share your experience.
well,
coaches.
Yeah, Ashwini ma'am, I was the coach, and Ramakrishna was the coachee, and we had Prashant as a their observer. So I would like to hear from Prashant, like how did it go?
Okay.
Yeah, Prashant, so please.
Yeah, I think this Shivani started well as a coach, and Ramakrishna was quite clear in elucidating his goal. But again, I mean, to that extent, fine. She was listening to him. She was trying to understand. She was making him talk. He was doing most of the talking. But again, coming to the markers, that procedure, that entire process of setting the goal for the session. Shivani, you set the goal for Ramakrishna for the broad term goal. The overarching goal was set. But then possibly the time was not adequate, or maybe I do not know. But what is expected from the session, that the goal for the particular session, one, then what Ramakrishna should feel why that goal is important, what he will feel if that goal is achieved. I mean, those kind of things are there. No? That again, maybe Ashwini, I don't know whether 10 minutes are adequate to do that, but it was not seen, it was missing. But the way Shivani going as a coach was good. That must I should definitely appreciate that. Yes.
All right. And whoever sharing the experience, please share it within a minute. Okay. So, make it as crisp as possible, and then see that everybody benefits from it. Yes. So Shivani, quickly for you, how was it as a coach?
It was
were you able to ask all the questions there in the marker? Because right now I'm only focusing on the marker. Okay. I'm not.
Okay. So if I talk about markers were asked, I tried to ask, and it was more of like what is the purpose, what he wants to achieve. Then I tried why he want to do that. So these were the only 2 things I was able to ask in the time that was given. Rest, it was like the goal was set, but as Prashant mentioned, I realized yes, it was a long-term goal. So that was there.
Okay. So, what I would say is, as you have already assigned buddies, so for the, next few days, just focus on these markers, keep practicing, keep, saying these questions again and again and again. Okay. And then, as you keep saying it, then, you will anyway get, deeper into the conversation. Okay. Who next?
Thank you.
Can I share my experience?
It's group 1. Sorry.
Can I share my experience?
Yeah, let me see who has raised. Yeah, Ujjwala. I'll come to you, Ram. Ujjwala, I'll go
Yes,
in.
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. My buddy is Rupanjali, and I think I was able to ask her all the markers. Like we went through all the 4 things.
Were you able to establish the goal?
Yes, we could establish that.
Who was your partner? Sorry.
Rupanjali.
Rupanjali?
Yes. Hi.
In 15 seconds, how did you feel the conversation was?
The conversation was exactly how it was supposed to. Like she asked me all the 4 questions. So everything was, I mean, my goal was established by the end of those 10 minutes. I knew that what I have to do for the next, just this session, like, you know, just for this particular time. So we were not talking about the overarching goal, just what I need to do as a next step. So that she perfectly did, you know, completely seamlessly.
Great. Okay. All right. So Vidya?
Yes, I was the coach. I tried going by the process. I think goal established and try to understand why it is important and what are the steps probably need to be done. But measure, I was struck. I don't know really. I was not able to really find out what is the powerful question that will bring out the measure. I was little fumbling, but then time also went off.
Don't worry about the powerful question. So please, you know, leave.
I did not know how to bring out the measure. I don't know how to frame really, because it was a kind of a goal about her feeling. She wanted to overcome the feeling of missing travel. So I really don't know how to bring out the measure.
Okay. All right. So who was your partner?
Gayatri.
It was me, yes, Gayatri. I think I agree with Vidya. We touched upon 3 of the measures except 1. And yes, I agree, it was a difficult situation probably. And I think I would have also struggled in the same situation.
Yeah, and I was there for a few minutes in Vidya's and Gayatri's session, and I found that Vidya was articulating questions very well, had a very good coach presence, and was following the process as well. So good going, Vidya.
Great.
Thanks, Hemant sir. Yeah.
Okay. Alka. Oh, why the order has gone? So Ram, where are you? Okay, I don't see your hand raised. Alka.
Yes, I am the coach and Balraj was the coachee, and I just tried to incorporate all the 4 markers. But one thing I want to ask, that I think I got stuck here, that I asked first question that what would he likes to, what is the issue, right? What he wants to discuss. Now the first marker is what would he like to focus on in the 30 minutes. So both are the same questions. So I don't understand what would be the second question, what would be the first marker question would be there, because issue he has already said. So rest of the things I have done, the 3rd marker, 4th marker, everything. But the thing is, I got stuck here that how to frame that question, that first goal. The goal is this, whatever the goal his was. Then focus on what? In this session, what we are going to focus on, it was the same. So is it the same thing or something?
So, you know, when you use that question, right? So that is an opening question. So whenever you start a conversation, you say, what is that you would like to discuss in today's session? Right. What is that you would like to achieve in today's session? You know, so there are different ways you ask it. And then, so they will say something, right? You know, they would have said, you know, this is what I would like to discuss. So in that, then you would, you know, slightly understand that problem more, right? So that goal more. So sorry, you know, not the problem, goal. So you understand that problem more. And when you start understanding that problem more, it becomes clearer. When it becomes clearer is when you will then, you know, whatever the goal stated, the initial goal might remain still the same. Or it might see some sort of modification, is when you will reconfirm the goal. So you will say, okay, so we discussed and this is what you would like to achieve in today's session.
Right.
So then the client is going to confirm back to you saying that, you know, yes, this is the goal we would want to move towards in this session. So it is like, you know, it is opening statement. And second is you're reconfirming based on the clarifications which has been sought about that goal. and then you decide the goal, then the following question starts. Next 3 questions starts. Okay?
Right.
Okay. All right. So, Ravi. Ravi.
Yeah, Ashwini. I was part of group 1, like I am the coach and Vijay was the coachee. And we have Ian also as an observer. Okay. So like during the few minutes, like I was able to touch upon the first 3 markers, like I was able to reiterate what the problem was and try to know the importance of meeting that problem, and also try to explore or bringing in awareness, like with regard to like why is it important and all. But finally, like not able to still dig into like what is stopping to achieve those kind of the results. Okay, so able to touch upon at least 3 markers. Okay, so like to hear the feedback from Ian also, and Vijay also can please share his observations.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm audible. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely. All the points were covered systematically. It's probably a bit difficult in the time frame, but then I think it was very much setting the parameters and establishing, the context for each meeting going forward, which is done. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ram.
Yeah.
Ram, were you the coach?
I was the coachee. I was the coachee.
Coachee. Okay. All right. So 30 seconds. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Should I say? Should I?
Yeah. I said 30 seconds because you were the coachee, right? Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Although it was a very short session, but I am quite satisfied with the leading question. 2 main leading questions Shivani has asked me. What you want support? That question Shivani asked me. What brings you to me as a coach, as a coachee? So because I was clear in my mind that what is my actual goal, so I stated this is my goal. So Shivani asked me second question, follow-up question. What will be if you will achieve this goal? She asked me. So I again answered that question. So second question was also linked up with the first question. And then third, we closed the session that I asked Shivani that when and how I will achieve my goal. For that, I need your help. So Shivani closed the session by telling me that we will make a time frame and we will decide in upcoming session how you will achieve that particular goal. So although it was a broad goal in this session, but I am happy. I am happy with that leading question in a short session. So thank you, Shivani.
Yeah. Again, anybody who wants to drop off, please do drop off. We have passed the time, and people who want to stay, please feel free to stay. Yeah, Shilpi.
Yes, sure. So I was the coach and Rima was the coachee. We could cover 3 markers completely. The 4th marker we were discussing, and that's when the time got over.
All right, great. Shilpi is done. Alka is
Devyani ma'am. Devyani.
Sakshi? Devyani.
It will be Devyani ma'am first.
Devyani, yeah, Devyani. Where is Devyani?
So we started off well. We could establish a change in the goal. I mean, the coachee came with a particular problem, and after discussing it, she came to the conclusion that it is not that, but something else. So we discussed the goal, and the goal was done, and that. But beyond that, we couldn't go to the action, and the measures. So we reached only till there.
Yeah, that was not
she was my coachee. We should like to add.
Okay.
Shiva, you want to give a 30-second?
Yeah, I mean, it is right that we started with something and then we ended up finding out that what I started with was not the problem. I mean, Devyani ma'am gave her questions in such a way that we could reach out to our goal. Understanding the main problem is not this. It was actually clarification of words, of our thoughts, which we had to, it took me a bit of time to process. I mean, we played it out that way, that it takes me time to process. But in the end, she could actually find out what exactly is the problem and the goal was set, that what needs to be resolved.
Okay, great. All right. So, who else? Next.
Sakshi now, then Vijay.
Yeah, Sakshi.
Yeah, so I was in a room with Pooja and Milind sir. I was coaching Milind sir. And I mean, I massively struggled because I found it very mechanical. Like it's not me. It just, I haven't, I have so many sessions having done that. This felt like very restrictive and I did not want the conversation to stop. And when the breakout room closed, I was literally like a little bit angry. Like we were, on the brink of something and, it just, so it's gonna take me time to stick to that. I'll have to unlearn a lot of things that I've been practicing to, yeah, that's just Milind sir, if you'd like to say something.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
So that before Milind.
Yeah.
So it's good to acknowledge what you're going through, right? It's very important. And again, as you said, it is going to be mechanical. Till few sessions which you do, it is going to be mechanical. It's going to be hard, especially for someone who is very spontaneous, right? So it is going to be hard, but stay with it. Acknowledge what you're going through, but stay with it, and then you will see that it only helps you to structure the conversation. Yeah, Milind.
Yeah, so I think she achieved a very good rapport. Her state elicitation was also good. We went through all those 4 stages. The only thing which she also concurs is that we could not finalize an action plan. However, I think she did approach the process with a lot of diligence.
Yeah, no action plan. We were supposed to do only goal setting, no action plan. So if you have a goal setting.
Yeah, so we couldn't conclude the conversation, but a fairly decent amount of goal setting did happen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Vijay, you were.
So Ashwini,
Ravi was the coach for you. Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yes, Ravi was the coach. 30 seconds. Okay. So he asked me the questions. He was trying to get to the bottom of it and try to get a goal for the session. That was good. But what I have observed is that I wanted him to enjoy the coaching session, not to restrict himself. Like he was very serious. Right after the coaching session, he was smiling and asking me for the feedback. I said, like, why is that you're not enjoying the session? Like, keep that smile always on your face. You see Ankur, you see Ashwini, you like when you teach the class, you keep smiling, right? So that is where it brings us back. Okay, I'm enjoying this conversation. So I just gave him that feedback. Apart from that, I didn't see other sessions, but what I see is that don't feel tense. When you ask question, nobody's going to say, okay, you're failed and then go back, sit, not like that. Enjoy the session. That's it. Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vijay, for the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, it's okay, right? If you're experiencing some bit of tightness. So, Sakshi said anger, right? And, you're feeling that tightness because you are doing something new, which you have never done before, right? You will have that resistance. Your body will show that resistance. Your feelings will show that resistance. It is okay. It's absolutely okay, right? So the only thing is, the moment you start being comfortable with, what you're doing is when, you'll be your own self. And try and that is where, your presence becomes very key here. So your presence, just be calm. So just, take a deep breath. If you're feeling, there is tightness anywhere you're experiencing, just take a 2-3 deep breath, right? And then, just stay there. Okay. So, and it is fine. If you're experiencing these emotions, it is absolutely fine because you are getting introduced to something new. So new will show resistance. Unconsciously it will show resistance. So it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So who's next?
Alka. Okay.
I just want Balraj to give a little feedback. He was a coachee.
Balraj, 30 seconds. You're muted.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. So I believe she started well and she uncovered the need for the session. And furthermore, she asked the two, 3 questions which were important, follow-up questions. However, she missed like a measure of success and few things. But overall, it was a good session.
Great. Okay. Soumitra. I
So I
came
think
in for that for a few seconds. Yeah, Soumitra, go on.
Beg your pardon, you were saying something?
No, I said, I came into your room for a few
Oh,
seconds.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
on.
So I think what helped was because Roxy and I have been buddies, so we have a slight familiarity with the context, so we could move faster. But having said that, we quickly boiled down to the I mean, from the larger context and goals to this day's goal, so to say. We also covered, like the what will success look like in terms of measures, etc. So we made, I think, a decent this thing in terms of the markers broadly. What will perhaps help is also maybe if Roxy can take 30 seconds to quickly sort of add to whatever that I said.
Sure. Yeah, Roxy.
Yeah. Actually, as SK said, said that it was a continuation of our discussion. I was struggling initially to come up with a day's problem statement, and that's where, but we continued with the past discussion, and it really went with the various, I didn't focus on the markers, by the way, with more coming up to the questions, what exactly we want to achieve in today's session itself, So it went pretty well. Actually we came down, narrowed out even to the bit of the exploration as well as the solution also. But it came, since we continued, that's the reason it helped to have a day's goal put in place, the session's goal put in place. That's what I can say.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Shilpi.
I would request Rima to share her feedback. I missed to request her earlier.
Sure, she will. So, just share your experience as a coach. So what were you able to?
I shared earlier.
Oh, you had shared.
She shared.
Yeah. Who is the coachee?
All right.
Rima.
So I was the
Rima.
coachee, Ashwini. So I think the session was well started on a good note, and we covered point 1, 2, and 3. So at the start of the session, on the point number 1 itself, the bigger goal was decided. And when we started discussing more on the point number 2, point number 3, that went very well. And when at the point number 4, when she started exploring more, right, what I can do to achieve that. So this is where a lot of points were coming out, and we couldn't decide on a goal for a particular session. So this is where that I can say the breakdown goal we couldn't decide. Yeah, but I think the overall, the way the coaching was flowing on, Shilpi did a very good job as a coach. I think if we could have some more time, we might have able to, decide that goal also.
Yeah, I agree. 10 minutes is quite short. Okay, so couple of points, okay, before we sign off. So in your buddy sessions, please practice, these markers, okay? It will be very hard for you. And, you might tend to forget, and you might want to refer your notes, all that will happen, okay? But it's okay. So just, focus on these questions. And again, not verbatim, take the essence of that question, keywords, and then explore the goal. Establish the goal first. It's very important for you to establish the goal. And then you can, dig deeper. Second, use the client's language, as much as, you want to interpret in your own words, right? So the moment you start interpreting in your own words, it is your thoughts, not client's thoughts. Okay, so and hence please use client's language and be curious and understand client's language. If somebody says that I forget what Milind used during his session with me, so there was one word, right? So I didn't clarify that word. So always you will look back and say that I could have done this. That's okay, right? But in the moment, if you are not able to do it, that is also okay. But it is important for you to be in the moment and understand client's language. Just be curious and understand, you know, what does it mean to you, right? So then they will elaborate that. So please start using client's language and get curious so that, you know, client has better clarity of what they are saying. And please don't ask close-ended question. As much as possible, ask open-ended question, right? So if you say, have you tried coming out of it? You know, there was one question which I heard, have you tried coming out of it? The answer is going to be yes or no. Okay, so what have you tried so far to make this work? Then it opens up. You know, they will start saying so many things, right? So the moment you ask close-ended question, it is yes or no, is what you're going to get, right? So then again, you will frame a question to get deeper into, you know, that yes or no. So and hence, as much as possible, please do a you know, open-ended question. And as you know, we all agreed that, you know, it's not problem focused, it is person focused. Please keep that in mind. Focus on the person and not the problem, because problem will eventually have a solution. Focus on the person, you know, what they are going through, what they are thinking, where they are stuck, how they are feeling, right? So focus on those. Okay, so thank you so much.